my whole message is I want everyone to say yes to themselves. Really. Everyone, we have to start saying yes to ourselves.
Welcome to Awakening with Joy. I'm Joy. We're awakening, and we have a really special guest today. Well, actually, all of our guests are special, but this is Beth Villani, who I've known for a few years. She's a shamanic astrologer. She's an intuitive guide, and she supports people through sacred turning points. She's got wisdom, an open heart. I loved our conversation because we talked about the basics of astrology, but more deep than that, how astrology can support us in moving into our voice, into our calling, into coming through insecurities. And Tara was so open with her own struggles with insecurity and how she is stepping into her light, her sun sign, her moon, and especially paying attention to the Venus cycles. And so enjoy this.
I have been waiting for so long to have this conversation with you, Tara Beth. I'm really, really happy you said yes and we're here today. Thank you for saying yes.
Well, thank you for asking. I so appreciate this opportunity to be here with you today.
How did you get interested in astrology? What brought you here?
During my Healing Touch practitioner certification, we were required to experience different types of modalities as part of our curriculum. And so on the list was shamanism, actually. And I was like, oh, I've never tried that before. Let me give that a try. And so I actually just Googled shaman in my area and found the most amazing woman who is still my mentor today. And she actually introduced me to my birth chart for the first time at our first meeting. And ever since then, it just became an obsession, if you will. Took to it like a fish to water and went down the deep dive of learning my own chart and beginning in that way and taking classes, reading books, doing all of the things. And so I continued to work with her mainly with shamanic practices while learning my own astrological chart. So it really helped me by combining those two modalities together to really bring me to where I am today.
And that was about 10 years ago, as I recall, when I was watching your beautiful video on your website, by the way, just how you got started. But what I want to highlight that I find consistent for those of us who are stepping into our journey of sharing our gifts is you followed your passion. Something started with the shamanism and it led you to astrology, but you took to it like a fish to water. What do you attribute that to?
There's definitely past life being an astrologer there. So, and it is in my chart. I do have Uranus in my ninth house. So there are certain aspects in the chart that signify that this was something that I've done before. So
That is so cool. And I really want to have this be helpful for people who don't know a lot about astrology too. So maybe we'll talk about what the heck is Uranus. Maybe we'll do that first. So really seriously, what does that mean? What is Uranus as a planet? So like cuz I so often I go to astrologers or I hear astrologers and they talk astrology language. But from a practical standpoint, what is that? Like, break it down. What did that mean to you when you recognized that? And how did that really support you in your life path and your career, knowing this alignment?
So it didn't occur to me until once I really started to learn astrology, because I too was like, what is Uranus? Well, Uranus and Aquarius is the ruler of astrology, number one. And Uranus is the planet of liberation. It wants us to break free from patterns that keep us small, that keep us from being in our true authenticity and that keep us from reaching our fullest potential. So, and I happen to have Uranus in Libra, and Libra, that sign is ruled by Venus. And in my natal chart, I have Venus in the 8th house, which is the house of shamanism. So it's like all these things then started connecting and linking together. And it's only once you start to really work with it internally and going down that path of, okay, you can understand it, logically, mentally, take in the information, but the embodiment process is what it really makes it come alive.
That's so perfect you said that, because that's the real question that I had. Was you said that it helped you become who you are today.
Yes.
And so maybe you can share a little bit more about how astrology has helped you realize who you are, step into your authenticity, know your gifts, move through challenges. I'm just really curious, when you say you grew, you changed, you embodied it. What did that look like for you?
So a lot a lot of dark nights of the soul, when you go through this process of unwinding who you're not and letting go of the roles that you've played throughout your life and actually become who you are, your life shifts tremendously. And that's something that you have to really prepare yourself for. And certainly some things came along in my life that I wasn't expecting. That's also a Uranian quality. Um, and so certain things happened in my life that I then had to really go within to discover and clear out what was false. And that's part of my shamanic process that I do. I stay very much in touch with my higher self and my guides and really working on clearing what is not me so that who I truly am, what I am really can shine and come out. And it's been a process. It doesn't happen all at once. If it happened all at once, it would be way too much. And so it's about embracing the unfolding of it all. And that's part of the beauty of it. And with astrology, astrology, a lot of it is about timing, right? So it was the timing of different things and astrological occurrences that would hit personal planets in my chart that really opened the door to new possibilities.
This is so cool. I'm loving everything you say, and I have so many questions I want to ask. And once again, I want this to be informative for people who are beginners. So you talked about your birth chart, which was and is like the fixed chart when we're born. So it shows our potential and our influences. But now you're talking about timing and the way that we're all moving through time and space and the planets are shifting. So I know that you work with clients. Your preference is not just one reading, but actually taking people through the journey so they can be aware of the influences, they can do the shamanic work with you. But break that down a little bit, the difference between a birth chart and then I think a progressed chart, or how where we are in current time is affecting our chart. Could you just explain what that's about?
Sure. So
Okay, great.
so your natal chart, your astrological chart, your birth chart is a snapshot of where the planets were at that particular moment in time and space. And so that is the foundation where your life builds. And so when you start talking about progressions, um, your progress chart is each day equals 1 year. So it's definitely a very slow progression, and a learning process. And the planets that move the quickest through the signs in your progress chart would be your sun, your moon, your Mercury, Venus. It's rare if you have an outer planet that will switch signs in your progress chart. However, it depends on where it was in the degree point when you were born. But as you shift, especially with the sun and the moon, creates different nuances in your life and what energies that you're working with. It doesn't disregard your birth chart because that's the foundation, but the progress chart builds on top of that. And then when you start to incorporate the current transits, where the current transits are in relation to your progress chart or your natal chart will activate. It's almost like a time released capsule, right? Of what's ready to be released or what's ready to be actualized and known because it's all within us. And that's part of the beauty of what astrology and shamanism has done for me and how that can work together in really all the answers are inside of you. And using astrology is a beautiful tool and modality to acknowledge the timing of things and to acknowledge, okay, well, what part of me is being activated? What part of me needs healing? What part of me is perhaps getting an upgrade, right? Is ready to go to the next level as we evolve in this life. So, and the shamanism is what helps you to go within rather than looking outside for answers because it's all there.
What I'm really getting from what you're saying is because I know astrology it points to potential. Of course, we have power. We can flow with it, we can resist it, but it does point to possibility and potential. Not that it can be completely predictive, but it does shed light in my experience. You've given me a reading. I've had many readings of my life, and I found that too. It's so helpful to get a sense of these are the energy influences around your career, around your health, around your spiritual gifts, around relationship. What I'm loving about what you're saying, though, is we then get to go inside, find our answers, and the shamanism feels like a way to integrate the information and consciously choose how we want to use those planetary influences to reach our highest potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because part of the work, with the shamanism is releasing what is no longer serving. That's part of it. Releasing what is not us, but also awakening the potential, bringing that forth. And so I've just found the combination to just be completely powerful in my transformation and my evolution. And it has been such a gift that it's something that is my passion to give that gift to others. And I view myself as a guide, like I'm walking right beside you. I'm not telling you you have to do this, that, or the other thing. It's more of, yeah, I've been there. I've done that, and this is what has helped me. And hopefully, if it calls to you, it's something that could help you too in reaching your potential.
I know one of your personal lessons and triumphs in this lifetime is stepping into your calling, doing this work. Can you share a little bit about how you went from a more traditional life and had the courage to make some changes in your life to be doing what you love today? I think that'd be inspiring to hear your story.
Well, that was a big leap because, yeah, I had a full-time job. I was a massage therapist. I was a healing touch practitioner. I was also a licensed chiropractic assistant. So I was very familiar with the energetic systems of the body and biology of the body. And so um, to be able to make this leap, it was a leap of faith to be able to start my own business, which I'm still fully stepping into. It has taken a lot of courage and a lot of self-confidence to be able to be in this place where I am today, which is something that I really had to work on. That was a life lesson because I was not self-confident. I did not believe in myself. I always felt like I needed to get that next certification, or I needed to get that. I needed to always know more. Like I had this belief like I didn't know enough and was always searching outside myself. So it really was a big shift to then sit back and go into the feminine part of myself and go within and reflect and allow that to start to bloom. Because in our society, we're taught we have to just constantly be on and go, 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 go. Like we're very much in that Mars energy. Mars is how we take action. But it only led me to frustration because it was not coming from a place of wholeness. It was not coming from a place of belief in myself. It was coming from a place of fear. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do these things rather than honoring who I am as an individual in my own natural rhythm. It was performance based because, that's how we're conditioned in our society. So stepping back, taking the time, reflecting, doing the inner work, and just allowing it to be what it is and allowing it to blossom. That took a lot of courage. It took a lot of, again, a lot of release, letting go and surrendering. And surrendering can feel scary because it's that lack of control, right? So yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and you were talking about Mars to take action, and I know that the planet that we wanted to focus on today is Venus, which is more in the realm of the feminine, which seems to be what you're talking about in the surrender. Before we talk about Venus, because I really want to get there, um, could you just do a real brief sun, moon, rising signs? What? Because generally speaking, that's what most people know is their sun, their moon, and their rising sign. Are they the most significant and important parts? And what do they each represent? And then maybe we'll go into Venus. But I thought it'd be helpful just
Yeah.
to start with a little bit of the basics.
So, well, your sun obviously is a very important part of your chart. It's your core essence. So, whatever sign your sun is how you radiate outward. It's the light you bring to the room. Because think about the sun in the sky. It provides the warmth, it provides the light, it provides the illumination. It's how you shine. And so the sun is meant to shine brightly. I mean, look at all the people we love to go to the beach, right? Um, well, maybe not everyone, but sunshine and vitamin D feels so good. So, I find a lot of people with their sun, they're afraid to shine and fear that it's quote unquote too much, right? So, but really, your sun is your core, it's your ego, and we want to have a healthy ego, right? That's our structure for living our spirit in this physical world. And yes, it's your core essence, and it's the light you bring to whatever area of life, meaning the houses are areas of life where that shines the brightest. And that's where, you're meant to bring your light. And your moon is your most internal part of yourself. It's your emotions. It's your reflective nature. It's where you come home to feel safe. It's how you feel secure, and it's your daily needs. So those that know you the best know your moon because it's the most private part of yourself. It's not something that you necessarily put right out there for everyone to see because it is very private. But it's also represents our, as opposed to the sun, which is our divine masculine nature, it's very outward. This is our divine feminine nature, our reflective nature. It's very inward. So it's about balancing those two parts, right? And when you think about the sun and the moon in astrology, they are the two luminaries. They're not necessarily quote unquote planets, but it's what brings light to the chart. And yeah, extremely important to understand and grasp those parts of yourself. And your rising sign, that is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. So you could see it. A lot of astrologers talk about the rising sign as the mask or how you present yourself. However, because it's rising, it's your rising sign, it really is something that is rising within you that you really need to step into. So the opposite of that would be what's called your descendant. So that is more of a comfort zone. So yeah, the rising sign, the mask part of it can be maybe the lower expressions of whatever sign that's in. But when you allow it to rise within you, that's when the brilliance comes out. And so those three aspects, yeah, they're the main aspects of your personality, your soul structure, if you will. So it's really a great way to begin to get into astrology to really understand more about yourself and how you present yourself.
It's so great. Yeah, so we have our signs, and then they're in particular houses that represent things. I know for myself, one thing I love about astrology, and of course it's such an ancient science. It's been used for so many years for so many reasons, right? It clearly is a path to human potential in my experience, because it does indicate, like we said before, the possibility and the potential, including where I get caught up. So I'm a Taurus in my sun, which I've come to love. I've come to really understand the sensuality of that, the earthiness of that. When I was younger and just kind of dabbling in astrology, because my parents they were new age, right? So I always heard, oh, it's a bull, and I didn't want to be the stubborn bull. Well, you know what? It's so cool because the bull also hangs out in the pasture, and she's just so like steady, and I can be stubborn. And it's been really nice to have reference to catch myself in those tendencies of ego, like you were talking about, where I can be too fixed or stubborn, or um into the physical practical, and I lose sight of the more energetic. And so I just want to share, for me, I love astrology because it points to opportunity. And I know when I got my reading from you and the way that you read, it was so beautiful because you kept pausing and explaining what that means and asking me to reflect. What does that bring up for you, Joy? And could you see that as potential, or what do you want to do with this information? Right? What do you want to do with this possibility that is happening in your chart right now? Because we did, what was it called that we did? It had to do with my birthday this year. You had a name for that type of a reading.
Solar return.
Okay.
Solar
Yeah.
return reading, yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who has a birthday coming up, call Tara. Get on her books for your birthday. You know you can plan ahead. Do you recommend people get that kind of a reading like a month before their birthday, a couple weeks? What's a good time to get a solar returns reading?
Yeah, I would say all of those, a week, 2 weeks, whatever allows, in your schedule. It's always great to do it before because then you can, during your hour or 10-hour, what I call your 10 hours of power, you can really set the intention as to how you want to use that energy in the year moving forward.
Yeah, and I did listen to my recording on my birthday because we had done it prior, and already I can see some of what you shared with me. It's already coming to light. My
It's
physical body was something I need to be paying attention to, and that's coming to light, and my spiritual gifts. So, it's a potent transmission to, like, actually give ourselves the gift of just looking at the cosmic influences that are happening for us, then to be empowered to make change. And, gosh, let's go to Venus. I have other questions. I we could go on, but let's just today, because we don't want to go through all the planets, but let's highlight Venus and Venus phases because that's something you're really passionate about. Why are you passionate about that? How can it influence both men and women? What do we do with the information of Venus and her phases?
great questions. Well, start by saying or defining what Venus represents, right? So Venus is the planet of love. It's the planet of relationships. It's the planet of how we give and we receive, our self-worth, our value, its beauty, our sensuality, all those wonderful, beautiful things. Venus always brings much love and such beauty to our chart. So now, what most people don't know about Venus, and this is beyond, this is another dimension besides whatever sign your natal Venus is in and whatever house it's in. Venus has 13 phases, which is like the moon. So, from our perspective here on Earth, Venus makes this beautiful flower orbit in our solar system, and there are points in time where she's high up in the sky at night, or she's a morning star, so she's out during the day. There are points in time when she's closer to the earth, farther away from the earth, and closer to the sun, or when she disappears from the sky completely. So it is a beautiful reflection of even our divine feminine nature, because that's what Venus represents too. It represents our divine feminine nature and the cycles that we go through. And I really feel it's so important right now to honor that because, like I said earlier, we've been in such a Martian society, if you will, with the being extremely productive. And so now as we soften to our divine feminine, I think it's time that we really take a look at Venus. And so she has 13 phases. And currently she's in what's called the remembering and embodiment phase. So this,
And that, can I just say it's June 8th, 2026 as you're speaking that. Okay.
yes, yes. So she's currently towards the end. of this phase. She began this phase March 9th, and it ends on August 15th. So we are more than halfway through this phase right now. And so, well, what does this phase mean? What does it represent? Well, it's a two-parter. So remembering an embodiment. So remembering means more than just collecting different parts of ourselves that perhaps we've shunned away. It's about really, truly taking responsibility for them, not just like saying, oh, I know you're there, right? But it's like, let's sit down, let's have a conversation. Like, what does this part of myself want me to know? You know, what wisdom does she hold? So it's really the ability to truly understand yourself, and taking responsibility for that and all that you can be, because we discussed potential before. So the potential that lies there in that remembering phase. And then the embodiment part is the acceptance of where we are right now in the moment, and being able to immerse ourselves in a desired quality, what we want to see in ourselves, what we want to see bloom. It's there within us. We just have to remember it, and then embodiment. And then, but this part is all about the transformation part, where if there is a wound there, if there is a lower expression there, that we acknowledge it, we embrace it, but we transform it so that that becomes the embodiment within us, because we are in our body. So this phase is requiring us to be in body and being able to demonstrate ourselves. So this phase really requires us to really fully demonstrate our feminine self. Now, earlier in this phase, it signifies that Venus was not so bright in the sky, and it signifies what is still yet to be seen. So there might have felt earlier in this phase like you might have felt blocked, something was inaccessible. But now, as we near the end of this phase, there's more of a realization, but it's how do we express that? And so people in our lives are the mirrors for what's working and what's not. And when you see what's not working, it's a constant going within to see, okay, well, what do I need to adjust? What still is not in its highest expression? So, and in this phase, which I didn't mention earlier, that Venus is an evening star. So she's growing in brightness in the sky at night, on the western horizon. And during this phase, also she meets with the crescent moon 5 or 6 times, because this is a 5.5-month phase. So each meeting with the moon is also your part of your divine feminine. It represents that two divine feminine pieces coming together, your intuition, how you reflect, and how the moon is supporting that Venus, and how the Venus is supporting that moon. And it's right after a new moon that Venus then meets with this crescent moon. So the moon is very impactful during this phase. So during this 5-6 months, keeping track of where the moon is really helps to awaken more of that divine feminine.
I'm so curious in your life because you're so close to all of this and you're really tracking Venus. Two things. One, do you go out in the and look? Do you like watch? Because I know sometimes we can see Venus. Do you and then secondly, how are you really like applying this to your career, to your health, to your love life, to any aspects of your life? Like what do you do with the information?
So where I live, it's very hard to see. I can't always even see the moon where I am. So as hard as I might try, sometimes I might get a glimpse, but not always. Um, but this particular phase is very personal to me because it was the phase I was born under. So it very much is part of who I am and part of awakening my own inner divine feminine, this remembering and embodiment. And so it goes back to everything that we discussed earlier about the shamanism, right? Because I have Venus and Leo in the eighth house. So, and the eighth house is about shamanism. Venus and Leo is about being seen, right? But the eighth house is kind of a private place. And so it's like I really had to work on not being afraid to show myself, right? And because I struggled with insecurity in my life, because I was born closer to the beginning of this phase, um, that I had a lot of inadequacies, or I felt I had a lot of inadequacies that I had to then take action, right, to kind of prove myself. And so when I stepped away from that and fully stepped more into the reflective and divine feminine and just allowing and surrendering, it really helped me to become more confident in the work that I do. It opened me up to a broader vision when I'm working with clients. And it improved my relationships because I was previously was functioning. I didn't know any better, but things were hit or miss. Things were not like really, relationships struggled. I made a lot of mistakes. And so I had to work through all of that. Not that I don't make mistakes. I still make mistakes, but we all do. We're human, right? So, but not beating myself up for it. That was a big thing. Um, so, and really coming into my heart, because this current phase on the 17th, Venus will be conjunct the moon in Leo. And so Leo is all about the heart. It's about commitment. It's about loyalty. And how loyal are you to your heart? Do you listen to your heart? Are you following your heart? And previously I was not. And now that I am stepping more into myself and being loyal and committed to me rather than to everything else out there, it's just really been a tremendous shift in how I operate, which has positively affected my relationships with everything. Venus is about relationships, right? So my relationship with everything, with my life, with my work, with my friends, with my children, with the planet, with my dog. I mean, you name it, everything has just transformed and enhancing the relationship that I have with different parts of myself. And when something arises, I do the shamanic work to be able to clear it and move through it. And so, yeah, I just, for people that are new to astrology, that are new to Venus, I hope that this information really helps you to see Venus in a brand new light, to see Venus as a living, breathing energy. It's not something far out in the solar system, but within our own chakra system, each planet is associated with a different chakra, and Venus is associated with our hearts. And so she's asking us to come home to our hearts, to be devoted to our heart's direction, right? The intelligence of the heart. And so, and remembering that and embodying it. So,
I can really see how following Venus and the phases of Venus could really support me and anyone in tapping into that divine feminine. And so we're all going through the phases together, kind of like we all go through Mercury retrograde grade together, right? We're all going through the Venus phases together. So someone who's watching this video a year later from when we recorded it, you have don't you have some kind of a PDF on your website, a free gift where people can see where we are and you highlight what all the phases mean?
yes, yes, I do. The Venus
Oh,
Faith workbook. And in there, I have a description of each phase, the duration of that phase, and also a little reflection and ritual that you can do to really connect more deeply to that phase of Venus. And then towards the back, I have what's called a tracker that you can track what Venus phase you're in right now, and then write down anything that comes to you, a learning experience, an epiphany, whatever the case might be, as well as a chart that shows from where the Venus phases are from 2026 until I think 2033. I put it in there. So,
okay, cool. And so I'm just one last question about Venus. When is she at her most visible, exalted, and what does that signify? What do we do during that phase? Is there like a peak?
okay, so after this remembering and embodiment, she's going to be in her wholeness, where she's highest in the sky, she's the brightest in the sky, and everything that you have been moving through over the past 5.5 months now is being shown to the world in its wholeness and its fullness, and then she slowly declines. So it's all about cycles, right? It's all about the cycles. And as we move through these cycles, what no longer serves falls away, and what comes up is what's ready to be seen and then shown in the world to make the world a better place, right? That's part of our divine feminine dharma, if you will, is we want to make this world a better place. And how, as we as individuals, have a part in our collective experience by showing ourselves and showing our divine feminine, because it has a ripple effect.
Yeah. And speaking of that, just collective part of it, you have a group that meets and goes through the phases. You have a something online I saw on your website. Maybe you can share just a tiny bit about that as well.
Yeah, so once a month, it's a monthly group called the Heart of Venus Circle, where I talk about the current Venus phase. And as a group, we discuss what we're moving through, how we're feeling, and then I also provide a little shamanic journey to get whatever other information that might be there for you that you can receive, and help you to get the fullness of that particular Venus phase. I meet the third Monday of each month. Have the next one coming up after this podcast is in July. So the third Monday of July, and we'll be discussing what phase Venus is that in then.
Yeah, and every month, what a great opportunity. Well, down below are all the show notes with links and how to get the gift, how to be a part of the circle. Last thing I want to touch on, because we keep bringing up shamanism and my experience, because I apprenticed for a little while with a shaman as well. Very powerful. What I love about the shamanic path is it's such a individual journey work opportunity to find answers within through metaphor and through symbology and through just basically, as you keep reminding us, our own journey, our own inquiry. So I love that you have that as part of your circle. I know that when you work with people on an ongoing basis, you include shamanism. Is there anything specific about the type of shamanic healing and processes that you offer that you could just share with listeners, like your flavor of shamanism that you bring into the work that you offer people in groups and people who work with you ongoing? Is there something specific about your flavor or your lineage of shamanism?
So the lineage of shamanism that I work with is really about connecting to your higher self. Because I am a practitioner apprentice, I'm not going through the full spectrum of everything that I've learned yet, not until I complete that apprenticeship, which will be in about a year or so, a year and a half. So, but I bring little portions of that to the work that I do that I feel that people are ready for. But really, the work that I do is really connecting to your soul. And that is the basis of the everything that I do is connecting to your soul's wisdom. And when you create that intimate relationship, you don't doubt. You don't question. You don't need to ruminate in your head about, oh, what should I do here or what should I do there? When you strengthen those bonds with your higher self, your soul self, there's no question. And that's what I love about it most.
What a beautiful way to end our conversation. How powerful. Tara Beth, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for doing some of the fundamentals today. And thank you for sharing your personal story and your own stepping into more of your voice and your gifts. And I'm so glad you said yes to yourself. And we all get to benefit. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Joy. It is always a pleasure to be with you, and I appreciate this opportunity. And my whole message is I want everyone to say yes to themselves. Really, everyone, we have to start saying yes to ourselves and stop neglecting ourselves, because we need to build our inner strength in order to take care of other people, of our children, our life, everything else. So thank you so much, Joy, for allowing me to share my message. I appreciate you.
Thank you.